What's up guys, welcome to my channel. In today's video we're going to be looking at a compressor. So I'm going to be explaining ratio, attack, hold, release, analysis, makeup and threshold. So I'm going to be explaining how these parameters work, and hopefully this will be the last video on compression for you. So without wasting much of your time, let's get into the video.
Sure you go there, sure you go there. If I dey hustle every day for my daily meal, sure you go there, sure you go there. As I dey hope say things go change, I'ma sure you go there, sure you go there. When I don't get anything to give to you, I'ma get sure.
Hi, my name is Jay. I make music production tutorials for beginners on YouTube in Cubase and FL Studio. If you're new to this channel, make sure you subscribe and click that post notification bell so that you get notified every time I upload a brand new video. So in this series of mixing plugins, I've decided to explain the plugins step by step. So previously I made a tutorial on how to use a noise gate. So if you didn't watch that tutorial, I'll put the link in the description below. You can check how to use a noise gate. After the noise gate, I was supposed to make a tutorial on the EQ, but I already made a more detailed tutorial on the EQ. So I also put the link in the description. If you want to learn how to use an EQ, just follow that link in the description. So in today's video, we're looking at how to use a compressor. So I'm going to explain all the parameters that come with the compressor and how they actually work. So just to mention, I'm using this song by an artist called Suff. I also put the link to his song in the description. If you want to stream the finished song, you can go out there and check it. So just to start with, I'll start by defining what a compressor does. So in simple terms, the job of a compressor is to boost the low sounding parts of a vocal or a sample, and also to reduce the louder parts of the sample or a vocal, in simple explanations. So thereby giving you a more consistent flow. Because if you look at this, as you record, you have different peaks. You have something that is very high, something that is very low. The compression really just helps to even the difference. One very important thing that I want to mention is, if you look at this side and this side, we have peak on the left and we have RMS on the right. So when you set it to peak, you want your compressor to be analyzing the frequency that is coming in from the vocal based on peak. Peak is just the highest point of these waves. These highest points, these are the peaks. So if you set it to peak, what it will be doing is it will be limiting these peaks depending on the threshold that you set. If you set it to RMS, you want your compressor to analyze this sample or the frequencies that are coming in based on the average power. RMS is where you need to set for vocals, because what you really want to work on with compression when it comes to vocals is the average power of the vocal and not really the peaks. You can use peak mode. For example, you want to compress a snare. What you have here is the input. The input is the signal that's coming in. When you play your vocal, whatever comes in shows here. The level at which the vocal is coming in will show on this part. And then the output is the level of the signal that is coming out after it's processed by the compressor. So what the threshold basically does is, for example, if I set the threshold to -15. What this means is that my compressor is going to process all the signals that are above -15. If I say above, the way I want you to look at it is this. Let's take, for example, this meter right here. If you play a vocal, it will be coming from this side going this side. So if the vocal is too loud or the instrument is too loud to reach this point where it goes above 0, it starts clipping. So I want you to understand this like a number line. All the values, all the bigger negative values are smaller values in general, right? So as you go on this side, the volume keeps reducing. But as you go on this side, the volume keeps increasing. So when I say all signals that are above -15, that is -14, -13, -12, -11, going down. So it will process all those signals. So let me just put this back here. In order for us to know at what point our threshold should be, let's play our vocal and see at what level of input is it coming in. So let me play this, putting in mind that I've set this to peak. So I want us to analyze this based on peak so that the response is a little bit faster. So I just want to use this to demonstrate. So let me play just a vocal.
You my story, how I came from.
So I played the vocal and this was what came in. Let's say I set this to -15, which is the peak that I've just seen here. So like I explained, this means the processor will process everything above this. Let's look at the ratio. When I set the ratio to 1:1, what this means is that for every level of input that comes in, the same level of input should come out on the output. Let me demonstrate this. So let me play this.
You my story, how I came from ghetto to glory.
Input, this is -12.8. My output is -12.8. So if you set your ratio 1:1, nothing is happening to your vocal. It's not being processed at all because what comes in is what comes out. If I set the ratio 4:1, it means for every signal that comes in here on the input, the output should reduce by 4. Let me demonstrate this again.
You my story, how I came from ghetto to glory. Share you go there.
I said if I set it to 4:1, it means for every signal that comes in, our output should reduce by 4. So since signals keep changing, at some point it won't be exactly 4. Our output is -13.1. -10 is more than -13.1. Like I mentioned, just so we understand, this signal that came in has been reduced by 3, which is somewhere around this 4:1. So basically that's what this ratio means. So if you are dealing with vocals, you can deal with a 4:1 ratio. Attack is how fast we want the compressor to come in. If the attack is below here, this is a fast attack. So if I take it all the way this side, you'll see that the values here have increased. So it's taking longer to attack the sound. But if I bring it down here, somewhere around 6, it's taking a short time to attack the sound. The HOD basically sets the time the compression affects the sound after it has exceeded the set signal on the threshold. So we want a short hold so that it affects the sound a little bit quicker. So the release sets the time at which the gain returns to its normal state after the signal drops below our set threshold here. And it is very much recommended that you set this to auto because the plugin itself will figure out the right or the correct release time for your sample. The makeup is just to cover up for the sound that you've lost, or maybe the number of dBs that you've lost or whilst processing this here. So if you lose 3 dB, you can put a little bit, maybe 2 to 3. So, and that's the reason why before you start applying all the compression and all the plugins here, you can ensure that you balance your vocals to a level where it is relative to the beat. If you haven't watched the video on how to balance vocals and the beat, I also put the link in the description. Hope I won't forget. You use your makeup to take your vocal back to where it was. It doesn't matter the type of compressor you're using, parameters are the same. So this is a compressor from FabFilter. We have the threshold, we have the ratio, attack, and all these. So just to go through again, this one is more practical, and visually you can see what's really going on. So I said we set this to -15 because that's what we found, right? So I'll set this to -15. And below if you want, depending on how much you want to compress, but you shouldn't compress at least more than 4 dB going downwards because you squash the vocal. So I'll play this.
You my story, how I came from ghetto to glory. Share you go there, share you go there.
It's 1:1. Nothing is happening. So if we want something to happen here, we need to set our ratio. Like I said on the other compressor, the ratio is, if we set 4:1, it means for every signal that comes in, our output should reduce by 4. So let me push that to 4:1, somewhere here. And our attack is a little bit fast. And our release, let's set it to auto.
You my story, how I came from ghetto to glory. Share you go there, share you go there. If I dey hustle every day for my daily meal, share you go there, share you.
What you're seeing here is what is processed.
You my story, how I came from ghetto to glory. Share you go there, share you go there.
So if I reduce the threshold more, you observe that it will cut more of the signal.
You my story, how I came from ghetto to glory. Share you go there, share you go there. If I dey hustle every day for my daily meal, share you go there, share you go there.
You'll see how much you're reducing down here.
You my story, how I came from ghetto to glory. Share you go there, share you go there.
Negative 4.3. So if you want to cover up for that, that's why you push now your gain.
You my story, how I came from ghetto to glory. Share you go there, share you go there. If I dey hustle every day for my daily meal, share you go there, share you go there. As I dey hope say things go change, I'ma share you go there.
Hope you enjoyed this video, and also don't forget to give it a thumbs up because it really helps a lot for my channel to grow. Make sure you like the video, and if you are new to this channel, subscribe and click that post notification bell so that you don't miss out every time I post a brand new video. Also feel free to comment. So follow me on Instagram so that we can interact from there. We're going to be looking at a de-esser in my next video.